Hello, BookTube. I honestly feel like I could just make a video like this and not anything else. Literally, just have me and the bean here in this video without doing anything else, and that would be fine. But nevertheless, it's Friday, and that means Friday reads. Booktubers talking about what they've read during the week, talking about what they're reading right now, talking about what they're going to be reading. They talk about these on videos on Friday or on the weekend or on Monday, and I love them. I love those gauge-taking videos. They seem so personal to me. And also, I'm just nosy when it comes to people's life with books. I want to know what's pleasing you, what's giving you a hard time, what you're giving up on. I just find that all fascinating. When I worked at a bookstore, I used to bombard my customers with those questions. Just bombard them with, so that the joke was, the standing joke with so many of them was, well, technically I did come here to ask you a question. And I like to do those videos myself. I have learned to get over myself when it comes to Friday reads. I do nothing but read. Pretty much. Every once in a while, I go to the Brattle bookshop in order to get more books to read, and I also tend to my little bean. Don't I, baby? I tend to my little bean. I walk her, I cuddle with her, I talk with her, I feed her, all that sort of play with her. But other than that, I read. And some writing as well. So Friday, a point-by-point, book-by-book Friday reads for me would be unwieldy. And so for a while, I thought, well, that means I can't do it because I'm so special. But no, no. I could talk plenty about stuff that I have read or am reading or I'm going to read. So we're going to do that. I'm going to give you a few books here just to, make a Friday Reads video for myself, a record for myself, but also just to stir the pot and get you talking about things as well. So the first thing that I want to talk about, I'm going to hold up an anthology, and I may work myself through the whole anthology, but it is a response to something. Because I recently a couple of months ago, I fell into reading Rex Stout's Nero Wolfe novels. Rereading them because I'm pretty sure that I've read almost all of them originally, but then a lot of them were so new to me that they're basically rereads. I'm basically reading for the first time. And I finished. I read all the Nero Wolfe novels. And it was great. I have a lot of thoughts on the subject. I may do a long Steve Reads article about just about Nero Wolfe, about reading the whole corpus of Nero Wolfe, one book after another in a chain without breaking in a short amount of time. I may do that very well, but apart from that, apart from me thinking that it was definitely reading time well spent, definitely it was, I kind of wanted another series. When I was reading Nero Wolfe, the Nero Wolfe novels, I fell in love with the idea of going from one book to another in a series in the order in which the author wrote them. I fell in love with that idea so much that I branched out to Ross Macdonald's Lou Archer novels, which I am not done with. I'm still reading them. And I also branched out from them to the Mike Hammer novels of Mickey Spillane, which I'm still not done with either. But when I lost Nero Wolfe, I lost one of those three, and I thought, well, what's one that I could put in its place? What's a series I could pick up in its place? I've tried a few. I tried, for instance, Jonathan Gash's Lovejoy novels. I don't know that's going to do it for me. And I've been looking around for something that could go in place of there, and I naturally thought of crime fiction. And I went to Earl Biggers. I went to Charlie Chan. So I picked out. I got my anthology of Charlie Chan, and I read The House Without a Key, in which Charlie Chan is not. It's not really a Charlie Chan novel at all. But it is a kind of. It is kind of a mid-century mystery of the type that I was reading in Nero Wolfe, and I really enjoyed it. But now I'm wondering, do I continue with Charlie Chan or not? So for this Friday Reads, I can at least mention The House Without a Key, which I think I read before in a lurid paperback, and now I've read it in an anthology, and I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I really think that I can see a lot more of the infrastructure of this type of novel after having followed Rex Stout through so many books where he constructs that infrastructure. I really think I know a lot more about how to read such a book, and also, we shall see, how to write such a book than I did before Nero Wolfe, before that whole voyage through Nero Wolfe. So will my next Nero Wolfe be Charlie Chan? I don't know. I don't have any idea. The aforementioned Ross Macdonald. I am up to The Underground Man, another Lou Archer novel that I really enjoyed. They managed to surprise me. Every single one of them manages to surprise me. I'm running out of Lou Archer novels. I think I have only a handful of them left to go. And I haven't researched to see whether or not anyone else has written Lou Archer novels. I don't know how tight the Ross Macdonald literary estate is with their control of such a thing. And I also don't know if I want to go to pastiches when I'm done. I read 2 Nero Wolfe pastiches by Robert Goldsborough that were definitely pastiches. They definitely were not the genuine article. They didn't even really ring true, which is a death knell for a pastiche. You at least want it to ring true, even if it seems unlikely in its circumstances or its premise or whatnot. You still want it to ring true. And I will read the rest of those. Robert Goldsborough wrote a whole bunch of Nero Wolfe pastiches, and I will read them all. But I'm not. Let's just say I'm not sanguine about what I'm going to find if I find any Lou Archer pastiche novels. The Underground Man it's a more complicated plot than the last 2 that I read, and it also has a weird moment. A moment. It's not at the climax of the book, but you're building up to the climax of the book, where Archer, to my mind, steps completely out of character. So much so that I really want to find a collection of Ross Macdonald's letters and see if he ever addresses it. Surely, at some speaking engagement or authorship tour or whatever, some fan must have brought up that moment. I find it hard to believe they wouldn't. And so he must have been confronted with it. Plus, I don't actually know anything about his writing procedure. Did he have close friends that saw these novels as they were coming off the printing presses, so to speak, as he was writing them? Did he have confidants that maybe read chapters before they were published? I have no idea. But anyway, I really enjoyed it. Anyway, even given that chapter. Then we have something by James Romm. James Romm is fantastic. He writes about classical history. He's just incredible to read. I thought that his latest book was going to be A Bridge Too Far. I thought, you're incredible to read. I'm a big fan of your work, but there's no way you're going to make me like this book. His new book is Plato and the Tyrant, and he did make me like it. Very much so. This is his book about the time that Plato, the philosopher, spent on the island of Sicily, on Syracuse, mentoring and talking to and trying to guide or temper the tyrant in question, in the title here, Dionysius II, trying to make him into a philosopher king, trying to refine him, and totally failing, of course, as that project has failed every time it's been tried. But I loved this. I absolutely loved it. There was the potential hovering over this book of danger. A less capable author, a less imaginative author, might have tied this a lot more closely to Republic, the work about the perfect prince that Plato was writing while he was making all these trips to visit a decidedly imperfect prince, to visit a prince who was so cheap and stupid and Trumpian that he was nearsighted and did not want to admit it, and was surrounded by sycophants who were so groveling, that they pretended to be nearsighted when they were at the table with him. They pretended to be more nearsighted than him so that he had the best eyesight at the table. There's no saving a world like that. And Plato was writing about the ideal version of that world while he was trying to save the real world version. And that could have led this into bro philosophy channels from which it could not be reclaimed. But Romm is great. He does a great job. I loved it. Then we have something I haven't read yet. I will be reading this weekend. This is The Children of Eve. This is a new Charlie Parker novel by John Connolly. John Connolly's Parker novels are great. All of them are great. This will, I'm sure, be great. You could not have credit in the bank of Steve higher than this guy has. But you never know. There'll be twists and turns. It might be an off number. A couple of the volumes in this series have been off just a little. Not really sizzling works of greatness, but I strongly recommend the whole series. Start with the first one. You won't regret it. Then we have a reprint. This is Joe Westmoreland. Joe Westmoreland wrote this novel a long time ago. This is his book, Tramps Like Us, a novel basically about young men having sex in public, kissing in public, getting drunk in public, doing drugs in public, going to seedy, single room occupancy one night roach motels in order to get high or have sex or both. This publisher decided to reprint it. Bring it out in a new trade paperback. It was once upon a time an underground gay classic. And now, well, it's not underground anymore. Now it's published by a mainstream publisher. And I got a chance to just pick it up and read it again. And it was wonderful. It really does hold up. It is heartfelt. It is far more heartfelt than I tended to remember. Because when you read it the first time, the thing you're going to remember is the, shall we say, pyrotechnics. That's mostly what you're going to remember. But there's heart here. Real heart. And real heartbreak at the end. I'm very happy that I forget the name of the publisher. But whoever decided to bring this back into the world, kudos to them. I'm so glad they did. So an unalloyedly positive response from me. Oh, okay. This appears to be a tradition with my Friday reads now. This is a book that I am rereading it very slowly. I'm reading it out loud to you. It's Anthony Trollope's 1860s novel, The Claverlings, which is all about a young man and the two young women who think that he loves them. They each think he loves them, and they're both right, but they can't both be right, and whatnot. And we're having a great time. My Trollope read-alouds are always a lot of fun. I found this. This is a cover to The Claverlings. If anything, even more absurd than Bartleby the Scroller in the last Friday reads. I don't know who is putting this cover on this book, but I really, really wish, like with Bartleby the guy in the button-down suit with the phone on his table in a cafe, like with that book, so too with this one. I really wish I had a paperback of this book with this cover. I really do. They look happy. I don't know who they are supposed to be, but it does count as Friday reads because I am reading the book. Then this next one. This is by Lauren Camilleri and Sophia Kaplan. And it's one of many reference works that I am now consulting. This is called Plantopedia, and is the ultimate visual guide, but there's plenty of text in here, to household plants. And I think that household plants are going to become my answer to the gardening that I abandoned because it involved too much stooping. I have a shelf of plants here at Hyde Cottage, and 4 of them are doing well. My pattern for the whole of my life has been get a living plant and watch it die, no matter what you do to save it. I've had plant people come to my apartments and say, oh, well, I don't understand. I've watched you carry out my advice towards this thing, and it's still dying. It shouldn't be dying. You're doing everything right. This plant should not be dying. And yet, those plant friends then go with me into the backyard to bury the thing. But I have 4 plants that are alive now, and have been alive for quite some time, including one little plant that I saved from the sidewalk. Somebody had put it on a high top of a sidewalk to just abandon it. It was just a giveaway. And it looked to me like it was still alive. So I brought it home, and I packed in a little extra dirt, and I gave it some water. I gave it some more water, and it is thriving. It doesn't look anything like it was when I brought it in all those months ago. And this has made me think that perhaps I have got the hang of at least a bit of indoor gardening, of houseplants. Just a little. I'm not claiming anything for myself except sarcastically. But I think I might have the beginning of a feel for how to keep these things alive. I've even recently been sent plant food, which I am experimenting with. So naturally, I am now up for any kinds of reference works like this, since I think there's now a chance. And this was a really good one. It's eye-openingly beautiful. But I don't know anything about these authors, but I get the impression from that of Leaf Supply that these 2 authors have a long history of writing about plants for people, demystifying them. I certainly get that feeling from the prose in this book. So it will join what I hope will be a small but very well used library of plant care in the house. I have places for them that work just fine. Blasted with sunlight, partial sunlight, no sunlight. I have places for them. And all of the plants that are alive now, on that shelf over there, with 2 exceptions that were just recently sent to me, but I'm not sure that those 2 exceptions are alive. They don't look to me like they're alive. But all 4 of the plants that are alive now, I kept alive throughout the winter. So, anyway, and then we'll move on. This next one, I have the picture that I took off the internet, but I actually have the printed book sitting there on the footlocker. One of you was very kind enough to find a copy of this book in your library sale or your yard sale or whatever and send it to me. I'd mentioned in a video that I wanted it, and that's wonderful. That's exactly how rule number 1 should work. And this is Edwin Way Teale, and this is his book, Wandering Through Winter, which one of you sent me, a hardcover like new of the day it was printed, with a plastic dust jacket on it. So great. So I have a chance to look at the pictures and enjoy it and whatnot. These don't exist as ebooks, I don't think. Edwin Way Teale did 4 of these books where he basically goes on a long road trip during some American season of the calendar as they once were. And stops at a whole bunch of places, gives a whole bunch of local color, talks about the wildlife and the plants and whatnot. These are enchanting books. They're just wonderful. And now I have at least one of them. Edwin Way Teale oversaw an abridgment of all 4 books into one book that has 4 seasons, but I want all 4 books of what used to be the old calendar seasons, summer, spring, winter, and fall. Those seasons don't exist anymore. And when I was first reading these books, 60, 70 years ago, if you'd have told me, well, you're reading that book now, enjoy it while you can, I'd have said, yeah, I know, because in 60 years this won't be in print anymore. If you'd have told me then, no, it's not just that the book won't be in print anymore, it's that the seasons won't be the same. I said, don't be ridiculous. The seasons have been the same for 500,000 years. So don't be ridiculous. The world isn't going to change. The seasons aren't going to change. But they did. They are changing right in front of me. So wandering through winter, what does that mean? That means that aside from a couple of freak storms, you could wander through northern Colorado in winter in maybe put on a sweater. Maybe in northern Colorado in the middle of what used to be called winter, it might be too cold so that you couldn't sleep outside in a hammock without hurting yourself. Maybe that, though. Maybe. And by the time this decade is over, that won't be true at all. You'll be able to sleep outside in a hammock anywhere at any time of year, except for the season that used to be known as summer and that is now known as fire, where if you slept outside overnight in a hammock, you would have a heat stroke because the temperature won't go below triple digits, even in the middle of the night. So those kinds of dystopic nightmares never crossed my mind when I was reading these books originally. So in addition to them being charming, they're also nostalgic. So I'm very happy. Thank you very much to the person who sent this. I'm very happy to have one of those volumes. Maybe that will break the logjam and others will appear. Then this next one was a big thing that I found while thrift shopping with David Murphy when he was here at the beginning of this month. I found an unusual thing, not the type of thing I would expect to find at any kind of thrift store. This wasn't a used bookstore. This was at, I think, a Savers. I found the Young translation of the complete works of Philo, double-columned, 1,000 pages, and it had been a long time since I read this author, and so I read a huge amount of this book. Not really all of it. There are a couple of... Philo occasionally obsesses about certain kinds of exegesis that don't appeal to me at all. And so I didn't read the whole of it from front to back, but I read a huge amount of it. And it kind of gave me the bug to read Philo. He's an incredibly unpalatable author. He's trying so hard to sound scholarly that his personality only breaks out in a little bit in a few places. But nevertheless, this was enjoyable to read, and it got me thinking about Philo. And when I was thinking about that, I immediately went back to Loeb. I went back to the Loeb Classical Library Edition so that maybe I don't need to deal with a translator. Loeb has Philo, I think, in 10 or 11, maybe 12 volumes. And they're numbered. And I found one. I've read one of those. I have 5 of them. I read one of them... and I now know that Young as a translator is not entirely to blame for the unpalatability of Philo, but is somewhat to blame. There's a better translation that could be done of this than Young, and Young is by far the only one that has ever had any kind of popular circulation. I went to Loeb for Philo on Genesis, where he writes about the book of Genesis. And he's very interesting. He might be a little bit on the stiff side, but he is an incredibly deep thinker on the subject. And I'm up for exegesis on Genesis anyway, no matter who does it. I was a little bit disappointed that Marilyn Robinson's book on Genesis was not much better than it was. I'll take any of it. So to read something like this, to read it, someone who is so thoroughly versed in the literature up to his day, it was really enjoyable. Reading the two of them together was really enjoyable. And I think the Young volume might have infected me just a bit, so that I'm not quite done with Philo. I might read the other Loeb volumes that I have, maybe not all at once, but and then finally we can end up with something that I showed you on a book haul. I don't have the paper. I have the paperback, but I didn't want to bring it here. I just pulled the cover off the internet, and this is John Marquand. This is Right You Are, Mr. Moto, which was originally published as a Stopover Tokyo, which I have as a hardcover, and partially this was maybe another quest for another series, another crime series, the Mr. Moto novels. Maybe it was. I did reread this, and for those of you who are wondering, I read the mass market paperback that I got that was in horrible shape. Really, I am its last port of call. It is not. There's no way that I could, in good conscience, put it in a little free library or sell it back to the Brattle. I'll keep it, and I enjoyed it. With Right You Are, Mr. Moto, I thought there's a lot of potential here that isn't being used, quite a bit, maybe a distracting amount of potential that isn't being used. And I don't know if that the potential is really there, and I'm seeing it because I have watched, I've read all of Rex Stout, and Rex Stout knows exactly what he's doing. If there is potential in his plot, he knows it. You're not going to spot something that he doesn't spot. And it's all going to be used by the end of every book. Maybe that has just spoiled me, so that I'm seeing potential that isn't there, or maybe Marquand is exploiting it and I'm just not satisfied because he's not doing it in the same way. I did enjoy this. It's the same way. I'm ending like I began this Friday Reads. It's the same way with Charlie Chan. I'm wondering if I want to pursue more of this with both Mr. Moto and Charlie Chan. I'm wondering if I want to do more, or maybe I should go to some other series, something else. I don't think it will be Lovejoy, but that leaves a lot of alternatives. I'm trying not for it not to be DL and Pasco. I'm trying for it not to be that, because I love those books already, and that's not a question of me revisiting things that I've read so long ago I barely remember them. I love those books, so I don't want it to be that. I also don't want it to be completely police. I would like it if it were police in an uneasy cooperation or lack thereof with a PI of some kind. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. But I did enjoy this. This was well worth it. And I also, I'm not showing it in this Friday Reads, but I really did enjoy delicately reading that paperback, hoping all the time that it would not just die on me. That was a wonderful feeling. I was right to find that book. So there you go. That's my Friday Reads for this Friday, the last Friday in May. And of course, with the Friday Reads, I want to know what you're doing, what you're working on. I'm not showing you a lot of stuff here. I'm not showing you the Days of Billy the Kid or the New History of India or anything like that. But I still want to know what you're doing, because the rest of you are heroic in my eyes, because you do the reading even though you have lots of other things to do. You have classes and school and jobs and friends and a significant other who wonders who this weird old guy is that you're listening to all the time. You have personal hygiene. And you also sleep 10 hours a day, and you still find time to read. So your Friday Reads for me, in addition to just being nosy, they're also dispatches from the front. I just love the heroic nature of you finding time to read. So tell me all about it. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up for now, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.